The European Union, also known as EU, has been pretty quiet about new members lately. But with geopolitical tensions rising, that could be about to change. Today, I'll be ranking 15 countries based on their chances of joining the EU. Let's get into it. This map shows Europe and its delimitations. In green, you can see Europe, regardless of the countries. On the other hand, the blue countries like Russia, Turkey, Georgia, and Kazakhstan span both Europe and Asia. Then, in dark blue, we have countries like Cyprus, Armenia, and Iceland, which aren't geographically in Europe, but are considered European due to cultural and historical ties. So, what does this mean? It means that all of these non-EU countries, including Kazakhstan and Armenia, could technically apply for EU membership, as crazy as it sounds. I won't be including countries like Norway, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Iceland, San Marino, etc., since they are European countries that are politically and economically stable and aren't really interested in joining the EU. In other words, they're chilling. Now, to join the European Union, a country must first meet key requirements, or in other words, the Copenhagen criteria, including having a stable democracy, protecting human rights, and having a strong market economy. It must also be able to adopt and implement EU laws. The process starts with submitting an application to the EU Council and, if accepted, receiving candidate status. The country then negotiates on various policy areas and makes necessary reforms, while the EU monitors progress. Once negotiations are complete, a final treaty is drafted and must be approved by the European Parliament, the EU Council, and all current EU member states, as well as the acceding country. After successful ratification, the country officially becomes an EU member and starts participating in EU activities. The entire process is thorough and can take several years. At number 1, we have Montenegro. Montenegro began its EU accession process back in 2012 and has been steadily working toward membership ever since. The recent election of a pro-EU government led by Milojko Spajic, who has made EU membership by 2028 a priority, gives Montenegro a real shot at being the next country to join the EU. In terms of chapters, Montenegro has opened all 33 chapters and has already closed 5. Despite some political volatility in the past, things are looking promising, making Montenegro the frontrunner. Coming in second is Albania. Albania has been a candidate since 2014, and while they've made a lot of progress, there are still some issues to address, particularly around political stability, corruption, and rule of law. For instance, recent tensions with Greece over the arrest of an ethnic Greek mayor have highlighted some of the challenges Albania still faces. However, the overall trajectory is positive, and if they can overcome these obstacles, Albania is well on its way to joining the EU. North Macedonia is number 3 on my list. This country has been in the EU's waiting room for a long time, achieving candidate status back in 2005. They finally started negotiations in 2020 after resolving a long-standing dispute with Greece over their name. But now, a new issue with Bulgaria over language and ethnic identity has stalled progress. North Macedonia is eager to join, but these ongoing disputes need to be resolved first. Next up is Ukraine. Ukraine's path to EU membership has been anything but ordinary. Their application came just 4 days after Russia's invasion in 2022, showing their commitment to joining the EU despite incredibly challenging circumstances. The EU granted Ukraine candidate status in June 2022, and official accession talks began in June 2023. While the ongoing war complicates things, Ukraine's dedication to reforms and European values puts them high on this list. It's likely to be a long process, but Ukraine is definitely a strong contender. Bosnia and Herzegovina comes in at number 5. They've made some progress, particularly after gaining candidate status in December 2022. However, the country faces major challenges like deep-seated corruption, organized crime, and internal divisions, especially in the Republika Srpska region, which is largely ethnically Serbian and has strong separatist tendencies. These issues are significant roadblocks, but if Bosnia and Herzegovina can address them, they could move up the ranks. Moldova lands at number 6. Moldova has been steadily moving toward EU membership, especially since applying in March 2022. The start of official talks in June 2023 was a big step forward. showing that the EU is serious about bringing Moldova into the fold. However, Russian influence, particularly in the breakaway region of Transnistria, poses a significant challenge. Despite this, Moldova's pro-European government and public support for EU membership make it a strong candidate. Serbia comes in at number 7. Serbia has been a candidate since 2012, but their path to EU membership is heavily blocked by the unresolved situation with Kosovo. The EU has made it clear that Serbia needs to normalize relations with Kosovo before they can join. Additionally, Serbia's close ties with Russia and declining public support for EU membership make the situation even more complicated. While they're still in the running, these issues need to be addressed before Serbia can move forward. Speaking of Kosovo, they're next at number 8. Kosovo declared independence from Serbia in 2008, but not all EU member states recognize them as a sovereign nation, which complicates their EU aspirations. However, Kosovo has made clear its desire to join the EU, and if it can gain wider recognition and improve relations with Serbia, it could eventually become a candidate. For now, though, they're still in the early stages. The country of Georgia is at number 9. Georgia, the only EU candidate country without a border with existing EU members, has faced obstacles to its EU membership due to partial Russian occupation of regions like South Ossetia and Abkhazia since the 2008 war. Despite strong public support for EU membership, political instability and oligarchic influence delayed talks. In December 2023, the EU granted Georgia candidate status, provided it improved its rule of law. However, this process was halted shortly after Georgia passed a controversial foreign agents law in June 2024, which has been criticized for restricting civil society and media. Consequently, the EU has effectively frozen accession talks. Turkey comes in at number 10. Turkey's EU accession process began way back in 1999, but it's been stalled since 2018 due to issues like human rights violations, democratic backsliding, and tensions with EU members like Greece and Cyprus, as Cyprus is actually divided by the normal Cyprus that we know, and northern Cyprus, recognized by Turkey. President Erdogan's attempts to link Turkey's EU accession with other political issues, like its NATO membership, haven't helped. With the current political climate in Turkey, it's unlikely we'll see any movement on their EU membership anytime soon. At number 11, we got Armenia. Armenia isn't currently in the formal EU accession process, but they've been deepening their ties with the EU over the past few years. However, Armenia's close ties with Russia, especially in terms of security and defense, complicate things. Additionally, the ongoing conflict with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh is a major challenge. Armenia is trying to balance its relationships with both the EU and Russia, which makes EU membership a complicated prospect. Next up is Azerbaijan at number 12. Like Armenia, Azerbaijan isn't in the formal EU accession process, and its authoritarian government and human rights record make EU membership unlikely in the near future. The ongoing conflict with Armenia and Azerbaijan's strong ties to Turkey also play a role in this. However, if there were significant political reforms, things could change, but that seems unlikely in the current climate. At number 13, we got Belarus. Now, Belarus is closely tied to Russia, both politically and economically, and under its current authoritarian regime, there's virtually no chance of EU membership. The government's harsh crackdown on dissent and close alignment with Russia make Belarus a very unlikely country to join the EU anytime soon. Kazakhstan comes in at number 14. Kazakhstan has some economic ties with the EU, but their political system, which is heavily influenced by Russia and China, makes EU membership highly unlikely. The country has shown little interest in aligning with EU standards, focusing more on its relationships with its more powerful neighbors to the north and east. Finally, Russia.
Oh, hell no!
EU membership is completely off the table for them right now. The invasion of Ukraine and the Kremlin's increasingly authoritarian regime have destroyed any possibility of closer ties with the EU. While it's not entirely impossible that Russia could shift direction in the future under the current government, EU membership is unthinkable. What do you think? Do you agree? Would you change the ranking? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.